A massive AEW debut has potentially been leaked. Guys, it's super exciting. We got some big news across AEW, ROH, and WWE. We're going to kick things off with some WWE. Rikishi has often been talked about as somebody who could be a very integral piece into the WWE Bloodline storyline, and for obvious reasons. When I look at this storyline, I think it's one of the greatest storylines in wrestling ever, and I know that really bothers people that I seem to think that way. Not that I really give a shit, because honestly, this is very good storytelling. But yes, we are getting to the point where we need to finish it up. And I think it makes sense for Rikishi to show up. Now, the thing is, he was doing an interview with Sportskeeda Wrestle Binge. And basically, when asked about making an appearance in the Bloodline storyline, he says he would go silent on that. He would have to stay silent on that. He wouldn't talk about it. He wouldn't feed anybody any sort of rumors. He wouldn't give any teases. He wouldn't say anything other than, I would have to go silent on that one. And it's actually a really interesting choice, because Rikishi, if he's not going to be in the storyline, if he's not going to be involved, he can just immediately shut it down. But the fact that he's not immediately shutting it down tells me that Rikishi could very well potentially be in the mix within the storyline. Now, look, Rikishi is a hell of a talent, right? This guy, so many memories as a kid growing up watching the WWE and watching Rikishi deliver stink faces. I mean, it's a very, very, very cool idea for him to be involved in this storyline. And the fact that there's actual blood relation makes it even so much more real and so much more better. But the thing that I love most about Rikishi potentially showing up in the WWE is, yes, I feel like this is one of the best storylines WWE has ever had. I feel like this is the one that hooks me in every single week. And to be quite honest with you, having Rikishi get involved, I think just genuinely makes it more of the cinema, right? Which everybody's talking about cinema this, cinema that. Obviously, I mess around. I throw it on Twitter and YouTube and stuff like that. But realistically, you add Rikishi into the mix, and yes, people will be saying cinema, because I feel like WWE can creatively implement him there. Now, it would be very interesting if WWE would ever have Rikishi give Roman Reigns a stink face, but at the same time, too, hey, we'll see what happens, right? To me, I feel like the Bloodline storyline has to include The Rock at some point, and it has to include Rikishi. They don't have to be massive like inclusions in the storyline, but just being involved in some light would be really good. And yeah, we'll see what goes down with this whole thing. Guys, we got to talk a little bit about ROH. Some bad news for ROH. Mark Briscoe is off of Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view. He had an injury. Tony Khan announced this on Twitter, and Fightful actually followed up with this. They got some details on it that basically he's going to get knee surgery due to a serious injury. Now, the thing that's very, very annoying here is that Ring of Honor is pretty much dead in the water. If that offends you, that sucks. But Ring of Honor is no different than AEW Dark. And if you're paying $10 a month to essentially watch AEW Dark, I think that is a very dumb decision. But if that's how you want to spend your money, go ahead. I canceled my subscription. I don't watch this product in a sense of enjoyment. I really don't. I don't think this product is what it was when Tony Khan first revived it. That's the reality. A lot of people are even forgetting that there is an ROH pay-per-view coming up. There is a lot of great people on the ROH roster, but I can totally understand why Warner Bros. Discovery is not putting them on their TV networks. The reality is Mark Briscoe is a hell of an athlete. He is a hell of a character. He is hell of a wrestler. He is so good. And I would have bought this pay-per-view simply just to see Mark Briscoe win the championship, because I really enjoy watching Mark Briscoe. So unfortunately, ROH, they're going to have to do something different here. I can tell you just by talking to people on social media, talking to you guys in Discord, talking to you guys in the comments, a lot of people don't care about ROH. And the reality is, it's dead in the water. It is. It doesn't mean that they can't revive it, right? They could. But basically with Dark and Dark Elevation being canceled, they essentially made ROH that type of show. And I feel like that was a very big mistake. Because if you look at the first few episodes of ROH, they had some really cool stuff happening. And look, there's nothing bad about AEW providing talent with a job and pay and all of these things, because that is a really good thing about ROH. There's a lot of indie talent who are getting paid, and that's awesome. But at the same time, too, I think it is a bad reflection of the product. The product is reflected poorly on screen, and I think that's an issue. The good news is, though, on the flip side of ROH, AEW has some cool things happening. This is actually something I agree with. There was a report that dropped yesterday, and I wanted to take a little bit of time to actually really sit down and think about this, because I feel like my approach to this topic, a lot of people would expect me to absolutely jump on this and be negative. But essentially, AEW, according to a report from Fightful Select, AEW recently sent out a document outlining some changes that they plan to implement regarding performer and fan safety. Basically, it's a list of things that they're not allowed to do. And I see a lot of people who are absolutely pissed off about this, and I just think that's ridiculous. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking safety and truly prioritizing that. So basically, one of the things, I'll just go down the list. A document that was sent out outright banned unprotected chair shots to the head, shots to the back of the head, buckle bombs, and blind moves backward into the turnbuckle. Also, seizure cells, spitting, bleeding in the crowd, weapons or projectiles in the crowd, taking drinks or food from guests in the crowd, or physical contact with the crowd. Blood on objects is also not allowed to be thrown into the crowd. There's so much more that was added to this, but basically, any of this stuff, like there's things that could be adjusted based on like medical staff and producers and coaching staff. Table, ladders, like it has to be on the spot with padding. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff. Pile driver variations. There's a lot of things that they are going and they're being strict about. I don't disagree whatsoever. At the end of the day, we could talk about pro wrestling being a sport. We could talk about it being entertainment. But at the end of the day, really what it is a form of entertainment. People should not be hurting themselves, killing themselves over our entertainment. That's the reality. And AEW has been a very hot product. I don't think any of these things hurt the product. I don't think any of these things will reflect poorly on the product. Right now, AEW is doing very good with storytelling, and they're doing very good with wrestling. But at the end of the day, their storytelling has improved so much that this type of stuff doesn't really matter. And at the end of the day, if it's for safety, I think that's what matters, and that's important. And that brings us to our final topic of today's video. Yes, it is happening. Jushin Thunder Liger is headed to AEW. So basically, for those who don't know, he came out on Twitter and basically revealed that he is going to Canada. He's going to Calgary, Canada. And he specifically leaked it himself that he was invited as a guest at the Owen Hart's Memorial Tournament, and he's looking forward to coming to Calgary. Now, keep in mind, we've seen Thunder Liger everywhere. Hell, we even saw him in NXT. But now he's coming to AEW. I'm super excited about that. You know, I love when AEW respects wrestling history. I love when AEW respects the legends that came before. It's one of the reasons why the Owen Hart Cup tournament is such a great thing. But now we get to see Jushin Thunder Liger inside AEW at Collision. And I just think that's awesome. I do. And again, look, I could talk all the shit about ROH. I feel like right now, my criticisms towards ROH are very, very, very spot on. But anybody who is hating on AEW's product right now compared to what it was 9 weeks ago, I would say that they're not watching, because this product has improved a lot. Like, I mean, it's a drastic difference. You're seeing a very big improvement. People, don't get me wrong, it's not perfect, but WWE's not perfect, but they're improving on a lot of the things that I would criticize them for. And at the end of the day, I criticize based on what I watch and what I enjoy and what I like, and that's how I feel. Thunder Liger is coming to AEW, baby. Let's see what happens.